Hey everyone, I'm Joseph. I go by Audi Snapper on the forums. Today we're talking about these custom foam inserts for the really heavy RC trophy trucks. I think many of you would agree with me that tires play a critical role in not only the performance of the RC trophy trucks, but the scale appearance of the trophy trucks as well. And I think one of the most popular ones out there, and I agree, is the RC four-wheel drive Dune TA off-road tire. I think where the shortcoming is for me personally is that these custom RC trophy trucks are really heavy. They weigh anywhere from 12 to probably 16 pounds depending on who's building it and what it's built out of. I think mine weighs in right around 12 pounds, 12 and a half pounds, something like that. And one of the things that I've struggled with for the longest time now is what tire to use. And although I love the look and appearance of the Dune TA, I always struggled with the foam inserts because the foam inserts that are provided with the tire are probably meant for a much lighter truck, probably in the 6-pound range, something that you buy off the shelf. And it makes handling and the overall appearance of the tire really bad on my particular truck, and anything probably over the 10-pound range. One of the caveats with the Dune TA is that you have to use a 2-inch wheel instead of a 2-inch/3-inch wheel that most of the kit trucks come with. And although that does help with the appearance, you lose out on the vast selection, I guess, of the tires that are on the market and the wheels that are on the market. But anyway, the whole point of this video is to talk about these foam inserts. And the foam inserts that come with the RC four-wheel drive Dune TAs is this kind of generic, really soft foam. There's really not a whole lot to it. It doesn't hold its shape very well, and I think over time it tends to get squashed, or it lose its overall form. In my search to find the perfect wheel combination, I started to look at creating my own inserts. I actually have a couple here. These are used inserts. They've taken a beating. I've been running these tires for a while now. And I've tried to come up with, like I said, different inserts. This particular insert is, the material is the same. The only difference is that I had vertical pieces glued together vertically as opposed to layering them horizontally. Even after failing to make these last very long, I still had this real, I don't know, I guess, want or desire to go back to these Dune TAs. They just looked the part. And for no other reason than that, I'll be honest, they just aesthetically looked right on the truck. So I finally got to the point where, it was time to come up with a better solution. I know there's products on the market out there, but I couldn't find anything that was the right size for the Dune TA. Crawler Industries, I believe, makes a really nice product, and although they're a little bit pricier than I'm comfortable with, I'm sure that they work really well. Taking cues from the Crawler Industry foams, I thought it was time to see if I could come up with my own solution. And I am not saying that this is a good solution. I have not tried them out, although I have put them in the tires. It's really about showing you how I developed these foam inserts with just some basic tools and a drill press. So keep that in mind. If you have a drill press, this is something that you could probably do on your own if you'd like to make your own inserts. It's not that difficult of a process once you get the hang of it, but I want to give you a quick tutorial step by step on how I did it, and maybe you guys can improve on it. Maybe you can make them better and share with me how you did it. I'm open to suggestions, and let's get to it. So the first thing you'll need is a foam block. In this particular case, or a foam cylinder, In this particular case, I found this on eBay. I think I paid $7 for it shipped. It was a 3-foot section, probably. Um, I don't know that this is the best material for what I'm doing here. It's much firmer than what comes in the packaging for the Dune TAs. This particular one is 4 inches, and it happens to be pretty much perfect for the Dune TA. So from this, I get this. Again, it's a 4-inch diameter. It takes a little bit of work to, get all of it shaped the way that works best. Again, I took a lot of cues from the crawler industry designs, creating some grooves in the foam to give the tire a little bit more bite, so it's not super firm. You want it to be able to grab a little bit, so that was important. And then just getting the overall shape so it fits together nicely was the next step. But just to give you an idea, I've got 2 tires here. One's got the new foam insert that looks just like this or very similar to this, and this tire has this inside. So obviously it's been beaten. There's a lot of abuse on this particular foam. This used to be probably much closer in size and shape to this new one. And I'm not saying that this foam's going to hold up any better, but just to kind of give you an idea. If you compare the 2 tires, this one's really squishy. I mean, there is just nothing left. And one of the biggest things, and I'll probably throw in some clips of my truck running, is that as the truck starts to turn, you get a lot of sidewall push. The tire leans a lot. Not to mention that when the truck is sitting still, it's super, super flat. There's just a whole lot of nothing in there anymore. And because these tires are beadlock sealed, for the most part, once the air escapes, it doesn't come right back. So if you kind of compare that to this tire with the new foam, when I push side to side, I have to push really hard to get it to yield or kind of roll over like this tire. This one, I can just easily back and forth, and it goes a lot further. This one, I mean, I can push hard and get it to do that, but it's not the same. So, and the firmness is quite a bit better. However, at the top, you can still push on it and get a little bit of bite in there, which I think is really important. So that's the overall idea here. I'm going to take you downstairs into the shop, or the basement, as we normally call it, and I'll show you my process. There's not a whole lot to it. There's a couple simple steps. It's going to require, at least for the way I do it, a drill press, a bread knife, believe it or not, is what I've been using. And if you can get your hands on it, in this case, you need a 2.5-inch hole saw. I only have a 2 and an 1/8 inch hole saw, but I'll show you. I just use a rotary sanding drum on the drill press, and I just kind of open it up to be that 2.5 inches that you need. I don't think it's critical that this thing is super true and super round and balanced. It's just really to give the truck's tire form and shape so that it'll hold in the turns, but it'll still grab for traction. So let's go downstairs. Let's take a look at the process. I'll do my best to give you guys a step-by-step on how I created these custom foam inserts. And hopefully this video will be helpful for you guys and get you on your way to making your own custom foam inserts. So we're down in the basement now. We're down in the workshop area for the RC toys and other miscellaneous crafts. I have the 4-inch cylinder block here, a bunch of tires. This is one of the fat tires. This is one of, flat tires. This is one of the new and improved tires. I'm going to go ahead and show that whole process, but first thing we got to do is we need to cut this block down. And to do that, we're going to use a standard, looks like a bread knife. Nothing special here. It's some cheapo brand that we have in the house. and we need to cut it. So I think each tire is going to be a little bit different, but for the most part, the dimension I'm using right now is about 1.55 inches, which is, I guess, about 40 millimeters, 4 centimeters. And the way I do it is I just kind of throw that in there. Again, this is not a precise, process. It's just kind of rough and, so do your best to keep the knife as straight as you can as you go down. You can go slow, you can go fast, but it's important to keep it as straight as you can. You do want the overall dimension to be pretty consistent. So let's take a look and see how I did here. And that's pretty consistent. I'd say it's off by about 2 millimeters on one end. I have a belt sander. I've cut a couple of these and I've had to knock the ends down a little bit, if they aren't really uniform all the way around. But I think this is pretty good. This will be fine. One thing that I noticed about this foam block is it's not really perfectly round. So trying to find the center is not the easiest thing in the world. The way that I've been doing it is I know that this is a 4-inch cylinder, so half of that's 2 inches, and use a marker here. Hopefully this thing writes good. So what I'll do, you guys can see this, right, is I'll just come through here, draw a line, turn it 90 degrees, do the same thing. That's roughly the center. You can kind of check it if you want to do every 45 degrees just to see if you're close. That's pretty good. And if you're really anal about it, you can spin this all the way around to see if you're close. And I think we're pretty good. Alright, so we'll move on to the next step, which is over at the drill press. And I'll show you how I go about making this into this. So we're here at the drill press. I've got the newly sliced block here, and this is the 2 1/8 inch diameter hole saw. Like I said, if you have a 2 1/2 inch hole saw, you'll cut one step out of this process, but for sake of just going through the whole procedure, we have to open up the hole a little bit bigger once we actually use the hole saw. So I'll show you how I do that as well. This is a probably 6-speed Craftsman drill press. Nothing too exciting. It's made for a little home shop. I've got it on probably the second from the fastest speed, so it's going to spin pretty quick. And the reason I do that is because in the next following steps you'll see that I use this kind of like a lathe, and you'll understand what I'm talking about in a second. But the hole saw spinning at high RPM probably is helpful cutting through this foam as well, just to avoid tearing this thing up. So let it fly. I wish you guys can really see that. Alright, so we more or less have a donut now. I'm going to say that that's not totally centered, so this one may not come out too great. You can see, well, I don't know if you can see on camera, but I would say this is a little bit thicker than that. May not hurt us. Now this is the tricky part, and it's probably not the safest way of doing this, and I'm sure there's other ways of doing it. But what I want to do is I want this foam donut to spin at high RPMs, and I'm going to carve it with that same knife that we were using earlier. So, and the way that I do that is, although it probably will spin fine, it's a little bit loose right now. So grab something that has a little bit of texture to it. Piece of paper probably is not texture enough. This sanding disc has just enough texture. You can either go, you know, coarse side against the hole saw or the felt side, whichever works. I found that the felt side against the foam seems to grab a little bit better. And what I do is I basically just kind of wiggle this thing up. And it fits on there a lot snugger now. So now what we have is a donut that's going to spin at high RPMs, and I can carve it the way I want to carve it. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Once it starts spinning, you can kind of see whether it's badly off as far as the hole in the center, and in this case it's not too bad. It looked worse than it was. So I'm going to try to do some carving here. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Basically all I'm going to do is take this blade and very carefully drag it across here. And I'm just going to take off the outside edge corner. You can kind of see in the profile that it's a little bit, it's rounded now. I'm going to do the same for the bottom. Obviously trying to be as careful as, you know, humanly possible here. One of the contours of the donut is that on the outside edge of the tire towards the tread, it's much fatter than towards the rim. And the way that we achieve that is we stick the blade in kind of at an angle. See that profile, but if you look down in this corner down in here, you can see how it kind of goes down inside. That's what we're looking for. Do the same to the bottom, which you probably won't be able to see, but see it wants to move around. But you can see that it's shaping it. Probably got a little bit chewed up on the bottom. No, that's fine. So that's a start. We're getting there. So now the next step is to cut the grooves. Now the grooves, again, they may not be totally necessary, but I think that it helps give a little bit extra bite to the tread of the tire. And it's, again, that's something that Crawler Industries, I guess, is the name of the company, developed. And so I'm kind of mimicking that same approach. So fire this back up. I like to start in the middle so that it's easier to kind of get where the two the ends need to be. So I go up at an angle and then go down at an angle, and what that does is it cuts a V. And once you get that V cut in, it'll break free. Just like that. Now we got a V. Now we'll do the same at the top. I'd say 1/4 inch is probably what we're trying to achieve here, maybe less. There you have it. Any finishing touches, you can go back with the blade and just kind of give it a little trim. If there's anything that you're trying to clean up. But that's it. We're trying to use the drill press as a lathe, essentially. So now we've created this groove, which gives it a little bit more give, again, so that the tread on the tire can bite. Alright, so the next step is that we need to open this 2 1/8 inch diameter hole to match this 2 1/2 inch diameter hole. This is the inner, I guess, hub of the wheel, or inner lining of the wheel. And the easiest way that I know how to do that is to center this as best you can. I don't think it's critical that it's perfect, but we draw a line or trace the outside of the hub, and essentially we're just going to use the sanding drum as a way to open it up. And the way I do that is by sticking this guy up in here, dropping this down. Now if you remember, we tapered the inside edge of the foam, so even though this is not touching, the sanding drum is not touching this table, it's still going to get all of the entire depth. So as we go around, it's still going to sand and remove the material that we need to do to get that 2 1/2 inch diameter. So fire that up. Now just go around. Close. That's all you need. Now we got a 2 1/2 inch diameter hole. Looks a little lopsided to me, but you know, foam's cheap. It takes what, 5-10 minutes to create something like this. So I think it's safe to say that if it doesn't work out the first time, give it another shot. We'll head back over to the workbench and I'll assemble this wheel real quick and get an idea of what it looks like. Alright, so we're back over at the workbench now, and I'll do a quick little time lapse for you guys and we'll get it all sorted out. Need to be somewhat careful with this foam. It will snap. I have broken one piece before. I'm just kind of have to work it in. Try to get it in as much as you can before you start shoving the backside in. Just make sure it's centered. Give it a little twist, kind of help it situate itself. Already it's a million times better. Alright guys, there you have it. Finished new and improved Dune TA by RC 4-wheel drive. Still got one more tire to button up here, but it's 3 down, 1 to go, and huge improvement. Not as much rollover in the tires and the sidewall, and definitely enough bite for, you know, traction at the rear wheels and hopefully enough traction in the corners. So I think all in all I'm pretty happy with how this is coming together. I guess in the future, hopefully I'll be able to post some results on how the tires are holding up. Alright guys, so that was the process. Hopefully it was somewhat informative. I'm sure that there's other avenues out there, and there might be even products out there that I'm missing. And if you do know of one, please put it in the comments below. I'd be happy to check it out. Maybe it'll be kind of a game changer for me. If you have any questions, please post in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you guys. I'm usually pretty good about responding to the comments. And if there's anything else that you guys want to see in the way of videos, hit me up. I don't do these very often, but if it's something that I can do, I'd be happy to do it for you guys. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button below and the like button. I'll be sure to put all the links to everything that I've been talking about today, and my truck and all of its pieces and parts down in the description below. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time.